Sorry, problems. I forgot to record. Phosphoric acid. Yes, this is an example of polyprotic acid. Give me another one that you should know. Sulfuric acid is a polyprotic acid. Correct. Yes. What else would be a polyprotic acid?
I guess
H2CO3 doesn't really exist in solution because it decomposes quickly, but yes, carbonic acid should work. What else? I mean, any of these, right?
Yes.
Oxalic acid, tartric acid, any of your anions that have greater than a -1 charge are going to be in this category. So, what's the difference between this and a regular one? Notice you have 2 or more H pluses that can be removed. So, if I were to graph the pH versus the volume of the base that you would add, I don't know what's going on back there, but it sounds exciting.
What?
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
Okay, here's a pH of 7. First of all, it's an acid. Except for sulfuric acid, are any of them strong acids? Sulfuric acid is the only polyprotic acid that's strong. The rest are weak. So is the pH at the equivalence point going to be above or below 7? Above. That's right, above. So it would be somewhere above 7. Okay, now there's 2 protons, however. So we're going to see, as we get close to the equivalence point of the first proton, we're going to see a small spike. This is the first equivalent. Oh, I was going to write first, and then I did. First equivalence point. This should be halfway to the second equivalence point, right? Because we've added enough base to remove the first of, let's say, 2 protons, right? 2 H pluses. So in tartric acid, for example, if I add enough base to get rid of the first acid, the first H, that should be the first spike. So then sitting here at that equivalence point, I now have, in the case of tartric acid, H, C4H4O6 minus. There's still one more proton that can be removed. So we're going to go through a second equivalence point. So it's going to again go up, just like we had before, and spike. Here, this should be the second equivalence point. Again, notice the volume of the base. It should take exactly twice the amount of base to get there. Yeah? So if it took 10 milliliters of base to get to the first equivalence point, it should take 20 to get to the second, because it's by stoichiometry. Yeah? By stoichiometry. Okay, so where is the half equivalence point? No. Here's the problem. And this is what the lab is going to be all about. There's 2 of them. There's 2 K values. So we're going to see 1 for the first Ka, 1 for that first proton that's removed. We're going to see 1 for the second. So where does that occur? We look at just the first titration. Where's the half equivalence point?
in between base.
Halfway of the first addition of base. Here, at the half equivalence of the first, the pH right there equals the pKa. Where's the second half equivalence point? Yeah, halfway in between the second set. So here, this is the second half equivalence point. Here, the pH is equal to pKa2. First one was pKa1. See how that works? So if we can figure out the pH halfway through the first proton's titration, we can know what the Ka value is. If we can figure out the pH halfway through the second proton's titration, we can figure out what the Ka value is of that acid. Those are ways that we're going to do it. And so when you do yours on Tuesday, you're going to generate this curve. We're going to use the lab quest. We're going to track the pH as you add by milliliter a milliliter of base. And we're going to see this curve play out in front of us. We're going to try to figure out what our acid's Ka value is just graphically. Right? Where you're going to look. You're going to try to find that half equivalence point and find its pH. We're going to also do it by volume, right? So you're going to know the mass of acid that you add. You're going to know the volume at the equivalence point because you're going to find out where it shoots up. And knowing that and knowing the concentration of the base, you should figure out how many moles of base are needed. And you can do some stoichiometry to figure out how many moles of acid be present. Take your mass of acid divided by moles, you get the molar mass. So we're going to find two different ways of trying to figure out what this unknown acid is going to be. Okay, just as a little preview of Tuesday. Let's go back in time though. Let's do this problem. So first off, what are the two reactions that are possible as that tartric acid hydrolyzes water? We have the first one, tartric acid H2C4, H4O6. Oh, I just did not write H2O. Yeah, that was 10. As it hydrolyzes water, what's going to be produced? Yeah, it's going to give up only one of those protons, HC4H4O6 minus, and leave. It's going to give up that H to water, making H3O plus. We only do it one time, yeah? One time. So then, what's the second reaction that happens? Then we have that HC4H4O6 minus can also hydrolyze water and form the C4H4O6 minus 2 and an additional H3O plus. I'm telling you right now, if the first one is weak, the second one's not going to be strong. It's going to be weaker. That's right. So we'll rarely, if ever, I'm going to say never, but I want to catch myself. I've never seen an acid where the second Ka is bigger than the first. Okay? It's always small. And I'm going to tell you right now, the pH of the resulting solution, here's my pitch to you. And you're not going to believe me, but I'm going to tell you right now. The pH of the solution is determined only by the first Ka, not the second. I'm going to show you. You ready? Okay, let's do it. We have 21 molar solution of tartric acid. What's the pH? Okay, and then the second question is, what's the tartrate ion concentration? There will be some, but it'll be very small. So we're going to do this in stages. So we're going to do the first Ka first, and then we'll do the second after that. So let's start with our tartric acid. This says C4H4O6. This says I just have tartric acid solution. So am I adding it to a strong base? No, it's just sitting in water. So the only thing it can do right now is hydrolyze. I'm only going to do one equation at a time. So I'm going to take one proton off of the acid. And I'm going to generate one single H+. I'm going to write in my initial change and equilibrium values for just this first part. And then we're going to do it again for the second. Let's start with, what's the initial concentration of the tartric acid? 0.1. Don't care about water because I'm doing equilibrium, right? Because this is a weak acid. It's hydrolysis, it's a weak process. We don't have any strong base or strong acid, so I'm just doing equilibrium. I have none of the ion or H+ to start with. Have you seen the pattern yet? Do we know how to fill out the size chart pretty easily down this point? Right? We're going to be left with 0.1 minus X at equilibrium. X and X. I have a Ka1 value. I'm only doing the first proton, so it's only the Ka1. So I take my 9.2 times 10 to the negative 4th, and I set that equal to the ratio of products to reactants. We have x squared over 0.1 minus m. What is x equal? I need some calculators. Multiply by 0.1, so that's going to be 9 times 10 to the negative 5th. And take the square root of that, so 3 times 10. Oh, that's it's going to be well, how wrong?
I got
3 times 10 to the negative 2nd. 10 to the negative 3rd. 1 times 10 to the negative 4th. 6. The number is 12.
I'm not
I mean,
sure
I do
saying
love
it.
How about 9.6 times 10 to the negative 3rd?
I got 9.1 times 4 times 10 to the negative 3rd.
Okay. What does that x represent?
The molarity of the 2 ions.
That's the 2 ions. So which one of those 2 ions is going to affect the pH?
H3O.
The H0 plus. So if I took the negative log of that value, what would that tell me? That would be the pH right away. Okay, so what's the negative log of 9 times 10 to the negative 3rd? It's going to be nearish 4. I'm sorry, nearish 2. 2.03? Sure, 2.04. Okay? So, in other words, the first equivalence point, if I was looking at my graph again, the first equivalence point would be at a pH of, I'm sorry, the starting amount would be at a pH of 2.3. Sorry, not the first equivalence, starting amount. Okay? All right. I want you to pay close attention to the pH. pH is 2.04. Okay? I want to see, does the second Ka at all affect that number? I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to tell you it does not. What could happen after the first proton is donated to water? Excuse me. The second one can do it. So now, starting with this HC4H4O6 minus, now that one could also donate a proton to water. Couldn't it? This would form the tartrate ion and leave an additional H3O plus. We're going to do a second ice chart. Actually, we're going to do this all in red. So that we're not. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so what's my initial amount of the I-tartrate ion? Yeah, that number, that X value that we found, wasn't it? So we're going to now start with that amount. So 9.1 times 10 to the negative 3rd. We're going to, well, we can, sure. Yep. How much of the, let's go in order though. How much tartrate do we start with? None. Do we have an amount of H3O plus to begin? Yeah, we do. It's 9.1 times 10 to the negative 3rd. Sure. What's going to happen to the reactants? We're going to lose, right? So 9.1 times 10 to the negative 3rd minus X. Yeah. Similar. Yeah. Yeah, you can already see we're going to cancel it. We're going to add X. So 9.1 times 10 to the negative 3rd plus X. Now, what do I plug this into? The second K, right? Second K is 4.3 times 10 to the negative 5th. What is that now going to equal? On the top, X times 9.1 times 10 to the negative 3rd plus X over 9.1 times 10 to the negative 3rd minus X. What happened? What happened? Same numbers on top and bottom. Assuming X is tiny, there's a good chance we're going to need some canceling. What do you get for X? 4.3 times 10 to the negative 5th. What does that make